Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Writing Support Center workshop. My name is Giselle, and today's topic is on creating effective outlines. Outlines are an important part of the pre writing process as they do help you organize your ideas. During this workshop, we will be reviewing why outlines are important, along with the different types of outlines that exist that you can use when you do begin to outline for an essay that you are writing. Before we begin, I do want to talk about a few things that will help you get the most out of this workshop. The first is that you should complete the accompanying activity worksheet. Wherever you access this workshop, there will be two links for a worksheet. You only need to download one. One version is a PDF version, while the other is a Word version. Please download the one that works best for you. My other tip is to take your time as we go through this workshop. Since this is a recorded workshop, you can pause and rewind as you need to. So please take your time as you do go through it so that you can get the most out of the workshop. I do have a few goals for us as you do go through this workshop. The first is that we will be reviewing the importance of outlining during the pre-writing process. Uh, this means that I will be covering outlines that you create before you begin writing. I will not be covering reverse outlining in this workshop, which is another type of outlining you can do after you've written your essay. This is a great revision tool, but it will not be covered in this workshop since I am focusing on the pre writing process of outlining, not the post writing or after you've written the essay process, which is reverse outlining. So we will be focusing on outlines that you write before your essay. The second thing that I'd like you to get out of this workshop is to learn about different methods for creating outlines, both formal and informal. We will talk more about this, what the differences are between the two, but the general thing that differentiates both of these types of outlines is that informal outlines are usually the ones you create when you're trying to organize your ideas for yourself, versus formal outlines are more of something that you create when you need to turn it into a professor. The third goal for this workshop is to begin creating your own outline for an essay. So this workshop works best for students who are currently working on an essay or plan to begin an essay in the near future. So if you are not working on an essay currently, this might not be the best workshop to take right now, but it will be really helpful if you are currently working on one. So, to begin, I do want to start with an opening reflection. This reflection is just to get you thinking about the practices you already do, and it will also give you the ability to draw from your previous knowledge as we go through this workshop. The questions here are: when you are assigned a paper, what do you do before you begin writing? What does your brainstorming process look like? And do you usually create an outline before you begin writing? So go ahead and think about those questions, answer them on your worksheet. They are question number 1. And once you are done, you can resume the video. All right. After you're done reflecting, you can continue with the workshop. If not, go ahead and keep pausing until you are done writing your answer for question number 1. As you reflected on your pre-writing process, I wanted you to do that so you can think about if you already outline. A lot of the times we are already doing these things without even realizing that we are. So if you do already write down your ideas in a semi-organized fashion, that is a version of outlining. So you already have the gist of what outlining is. My question now is, why is outlining an important part of the writing process? And there are many reasons, but these are the three main reasons I feel outlining is important and will help improve your compositions in the future. So, the first is that outlining helps organize your ideas by presenting them in a logical format. So, this means that when you do write an outline, You're essentially putting these ideas in the order that you will present them in your paper. So seeing those ideas outlined in a organized fashion will help you write once you do begin writing the essay. The second important reason why outlining is essential for the writing process is because it reveals the relationships between ideas in your writing. So, what this means is that you can see how your different ideas connect, which will then let you know if what you're arguing makes sense. So, if you write down your thesis and then you see that point two doesn't really match what you're trying to argue, it's easier to catch it because you see it in front of you. So it's really important to write that outline so that you can see the different relationships that are happening between your ideas and you can further strengthen those ideas if they don't make sense. The third reason why outlining is important is because it constructs an ordered overview of your writing. Again, being able to visually see your ideas in an organized way will help you determine whether or not your argument is flowing logically or if you need to add something to your argument to make it make sense. So, all of these reasons are why you should outline, even if you're not required to. You can always create an informal outline, which I will be reviewing to help get your ideas put into a logical format. So now I'm going to talk about how to outline. And to do that, this video from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, is going to give a brief overview of what it means or how to outline, along with a few different ways you can do it, including formal and informal ways. So before you answer the questions, let's first view the video together, and then we'll talk about the questions after.
For many people, making an outline is an important part of the writing process. Outlines can help you to see.
I'm going to restart that with captions on. Sorry about that, just in case you prefer it that way.
For many people, making an outline is an important part of the writing process. Outlines can help you to see the big picture of your paper and to decide how to arrange your ideas. Let's imagine you are working on a paper that has asked you to advertise an advertising campaign. You've chosen to focus on an ad for your favorite snack food. You've researched your topic and brainstormed plenty of ideas, but you aren't sure how to organize them. So you decide to try making an outline as a way of exploring your options. When you are just getting started, here are some questions you might ask yourself. Do some of the ideas naturally cluster together? How many clusters are there? Which ideas are more important or general? Which ones are more like supporting details? What order should the ideas be in? What order would be best? Once you have answered these questions, you are ready to draft an outline. Try putting the biggest ideas at the top level and the details below them. As you look at your outline now, are there parts that don't seem to fit? Are you repeating yourself? If so, is that helpful? Or is it not? Do you have enough details to support each of your main ideas? Is anything missing? Are you happy with the order you've chosen? Or do you want to rearrange some things? Outlines don't have to look just like this. There are many ways to represent relationships between ideas. Your outline could take the form of a map, or a timeline, or a flowchart. You could write your ideas on note cards or post-it notes and try out different arrangements. Or you can make a PowerPoint presentation of your ideas. As you arrange your slides, you will be organizing your paper. Try some of the different kinds of outlines and see what works best for you and your current writing project.
Alrighty. So that was the video from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and it was just a quick overview of the different type of outlines. So two different type of outlines were mentioned in that video. The first was the main type of outline, which is a formal outline. The narrator in the video doesn't call it that, but the first version of the outline where you saw the clustering and then the moving to putting the biggest ideas at the top level, that's a formal outline. The informal outline are all the different versions of outlines that the narrator talked about afterwards, which are cluster maps, PowerPoints, all different types of informal ways to create outlines. So thinking about the video you just watched, I do want you to answer the following questions on your worksheet. So the first question is, according to the video, what are some questions to ask yourself when beginning to outline? And the second question is, what types of outlines can you create? So go ahead and pause here, answer those questions, and then resume once you're ready. All right, so if you're still writing, go ahead and continue pausing. In this slide, I'm going to talk about the differences between informal and formal outlines in greater detail. As I said, it was talked about in the video, but I do want to make it a bit clearer for all of you. And we're going to start with informal outlines. So these types of outlines contain words and phrases about the topic and subtopics in the essay and are usually organized in a less linear fashion than formal outlines. So these are the type of outlines, like I said in the beginning, that you can do on your own if you're not turning them in, or perhaps you have a professor that is okay with informal outlines. It all depends on who your instructor is and their preferences when it comes to outlining. You can create informal outlines when time is limited too. So that means if you're writing an in-class essay, using an informal outline is going to be the quickest way to organize your ideas. Some of the outlines mentioned in the video, such as maps, timelines, and flowcharts, are also considered informal outlines, as I've already mentioned. On the other hand, formal outlines are the style usually requested by professors. These outlines tend to be organized using numbers and or letters, so alphanumerically, and that's to differentiate the different sections and ideas in a paper. Full sentences may or may not be used. I usually see them with full sentences, but sometimes I've seen them with bullet points. So it all depends, again, on instructor preference or your preference if you're just creating an outline for your own self to organize your ideas. So here's an example of an informal outline. Like I said, there's many different versions. Just like in the UNC video, there are a ton of different ways you can informally outline. But I'm going to show you a version that is just on paper. This is just, like I said, one version of an informal outline. But these are great if you are not using it to turn into a professor and you just need to organize your ideas so that you can begin writing. So this is an example. You could write your working thesis at the top. So television advertising should be regulated to help prevent childhood obesity. So this is this person's thesis, and these are the 8 different points. Obviously, it's an informal outline, so I'm not exactly sure in what way that they plan to put these into their paragraphs, but you can tell that this person is just organizing their ideas in a logical format. So, for example, they start with children watch more television than ever. Move on to the second point, snacks marketed to children are often unhealthy. Third point, childhood obesity can cause sleeping disorders and other health problems. So you can see the transition of ideas here where they give you the main idea, which is that children watch more television than ever. And because of that, they're seeing snacks marketed to children or themselves in this case as unhealthy. Because of this, childhood obesity can cause sleeping disorders and other health problems. So you can see a logical flow in their ideas. Then they move in to talk about different supporting topics for these ideas. So addressing these health problems costs taxpayers billions of dollars. Therefore, these ads are actually costing the public money. But if advertising is free speech, do we have the right to regulate it? So perhaps this person was just thinking of a counter argument for their argument. So again, this is an informal outline. It doesn't have to make sense to us as a reader, but it should make sense to whoever is writing it. So My biggest suggestion, if you are writing an informal outline, is to just order your ideas in a way that makes sense to you. Since it isn't something that someone else is going to see, that's all that matters. This person's last point is we regulate alcohol and cigarette ads on television, so why not advertisements for soda and junk food? So from this outline, like I said, the person might understand it, but me as the instructor, I would be asking, where is the conclusion? What do these different points mean? So that is why when you turn in an outline, it should probably resemble a formal outline, which I will show you now. So here is a formal outline format along with an example of what a formal outline looks like once it's filled out. So this is an alphanumeric outline format. What that means is that you're using both letters and numbers to organize your ideas. So with this one, this format, you start out by writing your thesis in a complete sentence, right? Then you move on to your body paragraphs. Now here I have 3 body paragraphs, but that is malleable along with the details. So depending on how many body paragraphs you need to prove your argument, you may need more or less. It just depends on how long your paper is and how long your paragraphs are. So you may need less or more details depending on what you want to get done in that paragraph, because this is organized by paragraph. So this is topic sentence 1 along with the details in that paragraph. For details, you can also include sources. So if you are using a source as one of your details, you can add that here to make sure that you add it when you do go to write. But again, this is malleable. It changes with how long your essay is. So you may have more than 3 topic sentences. At the end, you then would write your conclusion, not your full conclusion, but whatever the main point is that you want to get across to your audience. Writing your conclusion into the outline also helps you avoid creating a repetitive conclusion that just restates what you said in your introduction. Because if you write it in an outline format, you can see if you're repeating yourself, just as it was mentioned in the UNC video. So here on the right side, I do have a formal outline example for you. This person's thesis is global warming is a gradual warming of the earth from human activities, and if it is not controlled, it can have disastrous effects on both humans and the environment. So right off the bat, I know what they're arguing because their thesis is at the top of the outline. They then put their 4 points. So like I told you over here, you can have more than 3 points. In this case, this person will have 4 body paragraphs, not 3. Each body paragraph has a different topic sentence that helps prove the thesis. So you can go ahead and read through those, but the first one is global warming is characterized by high concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is again a point that is proving the thesis, along with the details that they're including, and so on and so forth for the next 3. At the end, they do have a conclusion. If this problem is not corrected, we may see disastrous results. So this conclusion is a little brief. It could be made a little bit longer, but again, a sentence is fine. I would just suggest to this person that it's a bit more detailed. But again, you can see that there is a little bit of a repeat, but I can see that because the outline tells me that. So if I were this person, I might revise this based on what I see in the outline to be a little bit more nuanced and less repetitive of the thesis. So again, this is a formal outline. This is something that you would turn into your professor. And this person used complete sentences. Again, it's instructor preference. Perhaps your professor won't mind if you don't use full sentences, but in this case, this student did. So yes, this is the outline that you can use if you do need to create one for your course. All right, so now for the activity, you're going to begin creating your own outline. Now that you're aware of a few different types of outlines, create your own for an essay you're currently working on or will be working on soon. You can create a formal or informal outline. So if you do have an instructor that is okay with informal outlines, you can go ahead and do that if you process things a little bit better. If you don't have to turn something in, I suggest just creating an informal outline so you can get your ideas out on the page. Use this time so that you can begin drafting that outline and hopefully have something that will help you write your essay when you come to do that. All right, so I hope you had time to do this. If not, you can continue pausing. There is a space for this on the worksheet, so please go ahead and put your outline there. If you need to turn it in for an assignment, you can obviously copy and paste that outline onto a different sheet of paper. But as long as you create the outline, that's what's important. And these are some sources that I used during this workshop. I did use draw from the DLA brainstorming and outline from the PCC Writing Support Center. So if you do want to do that, here are the links, or here is the link for that DLA. You can also find other sources on our Canvas shell. So I highly suggest you do look at that if you do need more help with your writing process. I will be dropping the links in the transcript so that you can easily access them. These are two other websites that I used, obviously the YouTube video that I showed you earlier, and this Writing Center's outlining handout. So you can also look at these. Again, I will be putting these links in the chat. Thank you for viewing and completing this WSC workshop. I hope you found it useful, and I wish you all luck in creating outlines and the eventual essay that you will write from that outline. Have a great day.